초래 니 샘테나 초연에 나야 텐사워 종초 와종라 나초라 텐요 강타를 영 도르나 나초라 텐요 니요 탈초래 니 샘테나 초연에 나야 텐사워 종초 와종라 나초라 텐요 강타를 영 도르나 나초라 텐요
इब्तिदा हर शय की तू हर सू तेरा जलवा यहाँ जर्रा जर्रा तेरी रहमत से यहाँ निखर गया
आ गया जो दर पे तेरे उसका दामन भर गया तू ही दाता तू विधाता मोरया है मोरया
मुख मेरे मोरया मेरे मालिक मेरे मौला मोरया
हे लंबोदर गजमुख मेरे मोरया मेरे मालिक मौला मेरे मोरया
कैसे तेरे गुण को गाऊं तुझ बिन अब तो रह नहीं पाऊं
कैसे तेरे गुण को गाऊं तुझ बिन अब तो रह नहीं पाऊं
रूप सलोना दिखलाओ मेरे मोरया मोरया हे लंबोदर गजमुख मेरे मोरया
मेरे मालिक मौला मेरे मोरया
जीवन तू ही मेरे दिल की धड़कन
तू ही तन मन तू ही जीवन तू ही मेरे दिल की धड़कन
तू ही तन मन तू ही जीवन तू ही मेरे दिल की धड़कन तू ही धरती तू ही अंबर तू रहम का साया जग पर
तू ही धरती तू ही अंबर तू रहम का साया जग पर
जहाँ भी देखूं तेरे नजारे तुझसे रोशन चांद सितारे
जहाँ भी देखूं तेरे नजारे तुझसे रोशन चांद सितारे
तेरे कारण सांझ सवेरे तेरे कारण मोरया हे लंबोदर गजमुख मेरे मोरया
मेरे मालिक मौला मेरे मोरया
हे लंबोदर गजमुख मेरे मोरया मेरे मालिक मेरे मौला मोरया किनारा,
हस्ती के सागर की धारा, तू ही कश्ती और किनारा।
हस्ती के सागर की धारा, तू ही कश्ती और किनारा। मेरी सांसें मेरी दुनिया, जो भी मेरा सब कुछ तेरा।
मेरी सांसें मेरी दुनिया, जो भी मेरा सब कुछ तेरा।
तू देखे तो चमके किस्मत, तेरी रहमत मेरी जन्नत।
तू देखे तो चमके किस्मत, तेरी रहमत मेरी जन्नत।
आँखों का उजियारा मेरे, तेरा साया मोरया। हे लंबोदर गजमुख मेरे मोरया।
मेरे मालिक मौला मेरे मोरया।
हे लंबोदर गजमुख मेरे मोरया।
मेरे मालिक मौला मेरे मोरया।
कैसे तेरे गुण को गाऊं, तुझ बिन अब तो रह नहीं पाऊं।
कैसे तेरे गुण को गाऊं, तुझ बिन अब तो रह नहीं पाऊं।
रूप सलोना दिखला मेरे मोरया।
मेरे मालिक मौला मेरे मोरया। मेरा तन मन मोरया, मेरा जीवन मोरया।
मेरी हस्ती मोरया, मेरी धड़कन मोरया।
मेरा साहिल मोरया, मेरी मंजिल मोरया।
मेरी फितरत मोरया, मेरी किस्मत मोरया।
रोशनी तू मोरया, तारीकी तू मोरया।
हम सफर तू मोरया, हम कदम तू मोरया।
हम नफस तू मोरया, हम सिफत तू मोरया।
हर करम तू मोरया, हम सफर तू मोरया।
मेरी जन्नत मोरया, मेरी बरकत मोरया।
मेरी शोहरत मोरया, मेरी हिम्मत मोरया। मेरा तन मन मोरया, मेरा जीवन मोरया। मेरी हस्ती मोरया, मेरी धड़कन मोरया। मेरा तन मन मेरा जीवन, मेरी हस्ती मेरी धड़कन। मेरा साहिल मेरी मंजिल, मेरी फितरत मेरी किस्मत। मेरी जन्नत मेरी बरकत, मेरी शोहरत मेरी हिम्मत। मेरे मालिक मेरे मौला। मेरी जन्नत मेरी शोहरत Whoa. Okay, where we go? This one? That one. Cool. Heyo. That's super distracting for me. I don't know if you guys can hear. So let's jump into some Shaligrams. Shoot. I still got all these tabs. Minus the first few of Shaligrams. This one is incredible. I also found my pen, so that's cool. So this is worth putting the volume on. Where is it?
It having shape like a shankha. Perfect uniform shape of shankha. Black color.
Okay. I think I'm unmuted now. Okay. I'll just read it because that's easier. This is Kashav Shaligram. It having a shape like a shanka. Definitely pointed. Okay, let's see what he says though. This is Rudraksh Guru, who most of these images, all of these images are posts from them of Shaligrams. This one I don't think is on the website, but I did find it elsewhere. There's like a gash of interest. Strange. And then the two ammonites are like cut in half each, where one half is at the chakras, as he calls them. I stopped reading. Black, shaped like a shanka, perfect uniform shape of shanka. Black color. This is first chakra down here. Even though it would seem he's talking about this one, it's as he talks, it seems he's actually referring to the far end. This one is second chakra down here or here, but it seems he's talking about here. Both having golden spots, which kind of suggests he's actually talking about here. Now that I see that. Main thing is a two-sided chakra. If you see the chakra of this side, it comes on the right side. Right side, so if he's looking from over here, it's on the right side. And then over here, on the left side. Good left side of the Shaligram. So, as per the Kashav Shaligram, Lakshan Shlokas, it is perfect. I don't know if that is Shanka. Is clearly perfect Shanka shape. You can see clearly Shanka shape. Two side chakras. One is this side, one is the other side. Both sides are opposite of each other. So it's not like they're both like oriented the same. Black color with golden, natural golden colors. And then this side, I was thinking it's almost like there's a polar current, pole to pole, that's generally going like this. And a equatorial belt type current that would be going like this, but it's like maybe it's getting like turbulence in ways that are creating like shapes. Seems also like past this way, so I don't know. It's very curious, in the least. The way it has these little chunks. Kind of chamber-like. Maybe they're eddies. And then again, we've got that conch. Conch. Perfect shape of Shanka, two opposite chakras, two single chakras facing each other, opposite to each other. Direction along, also on side, left side and right side. One is going to the backwards, it is going upwards. Vanamala mark. So that's what he says. I also thought it was of interest. I'm trying to get a good moment. Like here, I guess. Like that. Not only are they doing this like chakra here, about, there's the like structure of it, chakra here, and then like a margin of the ammonite, margin of the ammonite, and then margin of the ammonite, and then margin of the ammonite with like a general structure here, general structure here, out here, and then out here. That presumably would go like in, and then we kind of see a shape. Like if this were to be growing larger, like it could theoretically have something that like spanned out further this way, so that like this whole shape is kind of related to this ammonite, but it's extending beyond it, so it's like not what happened probably, where the ammonite itself is maybe more inward, interior, and like down enough to not actually be inner, like past the boundary. In this case, it doesn't seem it has to be. But then we've got this pole down here, pole to pole element. Which maybe I should have used a different color. Let's just do it again even. Pole to pole. And then also like recessive pole to pole. I can't draw a straight line, but at least not that direction so easily. I almost traced it. Pole to pole, that kind of seems related, like to here, in terms of this like potential general shape, and then also to where this like goes to its furthest point essentially. Maybe not the end, although maybe there's some like energy inward to about there where it extends to. So there's two planes of interactions here where there's basically, maybe this even could be like an XY axis. So then there's, I don't know what color this is. Doesn't look good, no. Or there's an eddy. Let's just say over here. I don't know if it's that direction. Let's look at it a little bit. Maybe like an inflow this way and an inflow this way that are like colliding currents. That then one predominantly goes up and the other predominantly goes down. But they're both contained within a general region of pressure, that higher pressure that holds us together and forces the current flows. So then they eddy, maybe like here, I guess this way, or then it's running into itself over here to create this shape, but also like helping itself forward with the eddy. So it essentially has more force behind it as this current flow propagates over this way and goes around this way, where the other current essentially holds a margin with that by shaping an ammonite opposite to it, but going upward, and maybe then I'm not sure, maybe it cuts in and eddies. It's possible it's doing both too, like an inner cut in and eddy and an outer cut in later and eddy. That's creating multiple directions. Fairly certain that's a common feature of what's happening. It's hard to distinguish exactly in that regard. But maybe it's cutting in over here, because it kind of makes sense it would cut in where the gap ends up being and not where the solid material is. Like through here, going into resistance from over here, flowing that way and bending off it. But like flow this way is also going over this way, holding pressure to essentially the equator of the stone, the narrow belt there, but wider than the other portions away from the poles. Where it's like a collision point of two forces that then hold a margin. And the dominant one shapes the boundary over here, while the dominant one on the opposite side shapes the boundary over there, and that they're running into each other and deflecting away reflects the, like, that it's part of the stone, all these details are from that interaction. So I would say it's also going this way, holding a margin generally down to the center of the stone, the equator, where pole to pole is generally the long axis, in what I describe it as, just as a way to refer to this type of repetitive nature. Freaking incredible Shaligram. Thought I'd start there because it was so cool. So cool. And I think, here it is. I saw it here. Let's see if this is the same. I think it's the same video. Maybe? Maybe not. I don't think it was. It's interesting, like when facing this directly, it almost looks like it might be like flat back to about here. Like it's relatively flat and then it starts to protrude a bit around the ammonite. It's almost like this side got more into the stone, but the other side's current got more outside of the stone. So it was able to push the equator more this way, but it more abruptly turned off of resistance, where this current like got in enough to create like a dominant ammonite. Like I think it looks bigger. It looks like it's more cut in by through here. Like current would have cut in through here and came out over here. And vice versa. But where it was like getting to the center of the stone, where this one was running against the resistance of the other one's extension into the center, so it was only abutting the center. And like the trade-off was that this side actually made it further over but turned more abruptly, where it has like a region it's coming in at an angle and then it gets to about here and just turns generally flat against the ammonite. To go along this stretch, I don't know, seems plausible. Like it's running into resistance and bending more. Incredible Shaligram. Those striations. They're like blocked into segments. Okay. Let's check out this one. Do you guys see that? Nothing to see here. Cuts around, and then underneath one of these ribs where we see like the teeth pattern continuing over here, like along the plane. And then we see beyond that another frickin' rib. Totally seashells. Pole to pole, long axis. Ripples away from the pole. That then the opposing poles energies seem to have ran into the energy, like it was pole to pole, but one was flowing up predominantly this side from this pole, and the other side's current maybe barely got into this face. Instead of going to like an equator here, it went along that path and stayed on that side, but the interaction led to ammonite-like features in this area, which are ammonite-like, but also kind of bivalve-like. Like it could be another of these pointy sections that it's branching off, but it doesn't really arc in like a fluid, normal way like this. It's more like parallel looking. Maybe it's because it's hidden, but it doesn't really make sense over here. And then the other direction, so that's the pointy thing down here, I guess. Maybe it looks way more like poles here. Like it doesn't show another pole so much until we see it on this face. And then we see this like ammonite forming nature where it could form a harder boundary here and like strip away this material some amount of this back and generally up. And then along here it could start to create like a tooth pattern and just turn this into an ammonite chunk here, this like section, and just connect it in a way where it just makes an ammonite with a divided top portion that maybe threads back through like that way, where then like the ammonite ends up being like that, and then this area like cutting in to go into the ammonite where it has like a to form the inner tier where it's actually cutting in like here. Like we're looking at like this portion here as it goes into this. Okay, you probably already know what I'm saying if you're at all listening. To just make an ammonite and then generally reshape it under the pressures in a way where it's just like truly an ammonite. And then where this top segment though like becomes a conduit of shale material that comes up to the top and basically goes down the drain, down through the center of the ammonite, and then comes out the other side. Over here in this case. So maybe why it's forming like an ammonite-like thing on the layers nearest to that face, because it's kind of doing an ammonite by doing this, but the other face is like this. Or this the ammonite section we were just looking at is over there, so that fits. Like that is forming ammonite. More so on this face with the striations making gouges that become the ribs of the ammonite and then can be sectioned into the chambers of the ammonite. But doing it there, it looks like we see it doing it here more completely, but over here we just see it like gouging little nicks. Like it didn't really go under. Maybe instead it went like up this way. Maybe across there. Eddy around, come back. So pretty incredible. Let's see. I don't know if I can easily find this. It's probably on Etsy. There's a specific shaligram that really relates to the way there's a bivalve on top of the ammonite-esque one in this case. The one I'm looking for is like straight up an ammonite though. Here's another case of a bivalve doing weird things. Like we see it this way, but we also see above it in a similar direction, whereas over here it's like not the same, but kind of the same. Like kind of following the same path, but not quite, and having a margin. And then below all of those is just a chakra. Straight up a chakra with a tier of an ammonite imprint. So for some reason there's an ammonite imprint with this going on. Doesn't make sense in conventional interpretations. That's the other face where it's just smooth, like chakra ammonites tend to be, where it's just a chakra without a bivalve involved, where the other face is kind of just like a portion of a shaligram, like this bottom portion. Oh, Champs-Élysées. I don't know where it is. It's so easy to go by them too if I go too fast and like just treat it like I looked, or just skip over a single scroll like so. Da-da-da. Here's one that's kind of doing that thing. Where it's making an ammonite but didn't make it yet, but then in this case it actually divided the whole portion to become ammonite from the top, so that it's got a divide where it's cutting underneath it to create the ammonite structure out of one material though that's being shaped. Shiza, I gotta stop doing that. Right into the microphone, man. Can barely hear you, gotta turn you up and then you do that kinda like this, where it's more clearly like becoming an ammonite in this case. But it's doing that like divided with an ammonite like protruding type appearance. even though it's just smooth. In this case, it's just more where it's just like, that's an ammonite. That's an ammonite. Like, as a whole, the matrix makes sense as an ammonite. So it just is. But in cases like this, like the ammonite is actually down here. Not sure. Like, we see it doing it again here. We're just testing if it's got the material in the room to create like another tier of the ammonite. Could probably find it on Etsy. That might be a better way than scrolling through these. Even though I gotta scroll through this, I don't really need to show this. Shaligram. Just need to find the vendor. Maybe. Was it them? There it is. There it is. Can see the bivalve stuff going on super subtly. Into the ammonite. Can see it better here. Just happenstance, who cares? Who cares? No one cares, apparently. No one cares. So doomed. Oh, shoot. There were some more cool pictures of that one, but let's move on. Also move on from this one, even though it's super interesting. I don't think there's a video. No. This one is insanity. Like, what is even going on there? It's got like a chakra shape where it's making like a lobe. Chakra, lobe. But over here, there's a chakra and just a full-on ammonite. So I didn't know what the fuck to do here. It kinda is making just a big old lobe, it seems. Like this. But where the chakras are actually on this left side. But it just didn't cohesively form an eddy with this. That just formed its own eddy out of the inflow, it seems. Oh, we can actually see some ribs. I think that was this. Yeah, that's totally it. There's the chakra point. That gold streak. It seems there's ribs up here. I don't see them. For some reason they pop out here. They must be like in here. Like what? then we see this happens commonly where it like erodes an area and then erodes near where the nucleus would be, but then a larger area is kind of the lobes outward that it starts from. Really cool ammonite there. I don't think we see a better picture, but we do see better here. Sweet speed. Striations along this ammonite, but kind of tilted. That then abruptly bend that way. Oh my god, it looks like it's making a chakra right there. Like, here's the angle of this ammonite. Imagine, like, at an angle where, like, the chakra is about there, maybe? Where it's more flat the more it turns. Like, around there. Just kind of recessively. In the space of the protection, though. Where it, like, weirdly erodes this lobe. That's not very common for it to just look like that. Where it's just, like, perfect on one side, and then this cavity is, like, weird. Definitely, like, strange features. Strange margin that's not, like, the size of the teeth. Bigger bumps. Bigger bumps. Random little extensions. Oops. I don't know why this won't go away. There we go. Okay, we can kind of see those features there. They're there. Like, what the fuck? This thing is so abnormal. It's like many potentials, but nothing concretely. So cool. The way that is makes me wonder if that's like the next tier of the chakra, like going across here. Like if this became chakras and this was a lobe and this was a lobe, maybe it like did that with relationship to that recessive energy being present where it cut in weirdly over here. Like it just cuts across. I guess that's maybe fine. Ugh. It's super defined from there. It's like the shape of this ammonite almost. Wow. It's like flat. Like a current that came in along a margin, maybe. That maybe even deflected off and wrapped in here. Wow. Maybe that, like that an eddy happens here, holds pressure here and forces it this way around the eddy. It's straight up like removing this. Making a chakra here. And then another chakra would be coming in over here. And this just cut away. If there was more material here. Like this being actually cut away. And then like just be a separate shaligram somewhere. Totally possible. Just didn't have the material. Then we see some belt currents around the equator that are kind of pinching in more. Strange stuff over here. I feel like this is like pole. So cool. Oh my. Segmenting here. Strange stuff going on over there. Whoa. Wow. Like the way these are look super related to whatever's going on up here that's patterned. Like what is up with this pattern up here being so related? Is it part of this ammonite? Like it's structural. Extending the ammonite over here, I guess we can kind of see like where it would have a flat face to extend it within that area. Another ammonite there that I was interacting with. Another eddy forming an ammonite. Chakra is along this plane. Something about that looks strange, but we see some extension out this way trying to happen, and then weird things happening beyond. Alignments, belt area that flows into there. Belt that goes over that. Incredible. I thought I'd point out there was another vendor posting shaligrams on Etsy. It's always cool, new potentials. Definitely some curious stuff. Not much to look at. So I'll just move on and then find out if these like must look at kind of thing. They definitely could be. It's just hard to say. Especially these ones look pretty promising. And that one. Oh. What? Huh? Wow. Just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Suggestive, this lower eddy was happening along, again, pole to pole, so some polar inflow that, due to circumstances, maybe that the stone is kind of bean shaped, I guess. Like it seems to have some kind of equatorial belt that could divide it, and then a pole to pole. Oops. Pole to pole, and again equatorial belt, where some inlet here that maybe over time started to come out, cut into the stone and form an eddy, but over time started to come out into an area that it didn't have immediate access to, because it was preferentially pushed into the eddy, into the region of the opening, and then it started to grow enough energy to push boundaries by cutting out paths, and over time probably forming an eddy that has both directions, where it's also cutting in. But where this section, like, it doesn't connect here, and maybe it suggests like flows out of this area that maybe would have like gone out and back in like a thread, like threading it all together. Instead they go out and kind of just flow over that way, and so this area does not get eroded because it's an exhaust area that then reaches up into this area. Where this pressure is generally at. Flowing around, so it's holding pressure by its presence generally, like across it too. Up and above and across, but holding pressure. Which is maybe running into a counter pressure that's ultimately creating interactions along a belt area of flows. But then that leads to just like this tendency of a quadrant type thing happening, where in this quadrant we've got the first eddy, but then the quadrant itself has eddy A, but then it has matrix up here, so then it forms another eddy B within like the quadrant, where like pole to pole is like here. And then like the stone actually extends beyond there. Not the best picture. Then over here we got another eddy happening that maybe isn't like this line's probably not very good in terms of this image maybe isn't showing us the best like overlay line here. Maybe this is more like up there where essentially this is more in this quadrant than my initial line suggested. And maybe like this nucleus is in this quadrant, but it extends into this quadrant in the outer portion of the eddy. Again, though, opposite direction, which kind of suggests opposite flows on opposite sides of the general equatorial belt region. Which would make sense for why this went this way in the first place. If there's generally flow in that direction, that would encourage it that way rather than against the pressure of that. But then as it feels pressure over there, it goes back against it anyway, where it ultimately gets redirected though, just to a different quadrant. Let's see, is that? Oh, I don't know, is that and this the other one? Yeah, there's that ammonite below it, and then that one, so that's the other one here. Which is way more in than it looked. Like it got into the stone. Super cool the way the matrix is there. Scheiße. Like, what? It goes like right here. And then, like, there's definitely nuances. And even like here. Like it's spiraling in. Maybe some of this that came out and went over here also made it across the equator. It also suggests actually whatever's going on here out of this one. Like there's an eddy down here and it's exhausting up this way that then pushes a margin. Maybe it generally though like got into this area to start to form like an ammonite shape in the general area. Let's see some other pictures. Pfft, that's crazy. It's like a volcano. And then right below that is another ammonite. Oh, what? Oh my god. Like, what is that? It even influences the tooth shape. It goes in way more. And then threads back through there. And then this ammonite is generally in line with the margin over here. But like that's part of this one. Upper chakra not formed very well. Where it's exhausting, what a surprise. Like there's all this energy loss over here that seems to have happened. That could have been kept in here and just shaping this better. Making it more like over here. But it didn't. Possibly because it escaped. I'm not sure which one would be like the predominant one. This one's bigger. It also is like generally in line. Maybe cheating a little bit to suggest I'm just drawing lines between things, but in that regard, maybe more parallel with that is actually curiously. I don't know if that's exactly where it is. Maybe no, I don't know if that's quite parallel, but some kind of geometric relationships at play. The volcanic eruption up here. Chakras generally in line. Forming a structure over here that kind of resembles like a chakra. Like it could have shifted them over here to be here. But that would have been a case where this area was actually this eddy's dominant zone, where this eddy seems to have pushed out his margin over there, so it couldn't shift over there. So it was better here, but then they're just in line, which maybe is a bit abnormal because a lot of times the chakras are kind of staggered at like the edge of a tier of a chakra. Sometimes they're in a line, but I feel like it's more common for them to be like aligned, like it's still aligned over here where the edge of the lobe is in line with the edge of the lobe and the chakra. Anyway, definitely didn't see much of a chakra formed here. Looks almost like a chakra in there too. Oh my god, we see ammonite features, chambers wrapping around, and then ammonite features. Like, how do these two ammonite features coexist? Over here too, and then the margin. Nonsense. That this is just accepted as a fossil. Freaking mirrored features across the stone. One dominantly etched, the other recessive, but very similar. Positionally, structurally, like there's even an arc over here. Kind of like this is creating an arc. Opposite sides of the divide center area. Oh my god, you can It looks literally like a pressure point that when currents were trying to erode, like imagine water currents, including shale, grains of shale and so on, are flowing all around this, but they like run into the face and bend around it. But like the stone itself has a pressure point there, so it's harder to erode. So it runs into and erodes as much as it can to the pressure point, but then it just goes around the pressure point. Sometimes all the way around, where it like eddies due to the pressure point. I feel like that image is just freaking screaming that that's what's happening in this regard. That there's some kind of pressure point. Like, is it there? I think it was there. No. Not sure which one that is. Was that here? It's gotta be here. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's over here. Rock is flipped, so this is down, and then this is what we're seeing here. And then we're seeing this direction towards that. Pressure point. So current, we were saying earlier, ran in, but instead of just going down, it actually went in sooner and eddied in this space in some manner, where then it was able to exhaust out of pressure point thread locations, where it either would go back in or even go across and in and just like create this web forming the ammonite. But in this case, the flow went back this way with general flows we were talking about, where then it goes in here and eddies while this current's interacting with it. And the stone's general nature is making this a pressure point where they're more forced into interaction than otherwise. like that pressure point idea. It also, of note, has like a ripple, like right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and then also going that way, but where it's basically forming the teeth, like this kind of margin, just on a larger scale, where it's instead it's just managing to form an ammonite in that space. Super cool. Just gonna burn through some of these. Super cool. I don't know which ones I want to really discuss in depth or anything. Just kind of looking. I just open these to make sure I brought attention to them before they disappear into the ether. We can see the little divots. 1, 2, 3, 4, bigger one. 1, 2, 3. Like it's creating the ammonite shapes, but still hasn't actually done it. So, because it's doing it out of a matrix, that different aspects of the current flows just repetitively do the same thing when eddies like this form. Definitely some anomalous features. Like that continues across the stone to between ammonites. Has an equatorial belt, pole to pole, ammonite to ammonite. Pretty sure. Oh no, that's one ammonite. Another ammonite chunk over here in line. Strange. Super cool. It gets so thin. Who cares? That's just how it goes, man. Again with that bow out of erosion on one side of the chakras. Hard to say where the chakras are. It looks like they'd be like here, maybe, in terms of the pointiest parts. Frequently in a stone like this, they'd be more centered. I wonder what that might point to, that it's kind of off balance. Like random erosion paths that really don't make any sense in a sea creature's shell kind of line of reasoning. Make more sense when currents are doing peculiar things that are the nature of currents, to not just be like one flow pattern always, but to be conditional. Could kind of see whatever's going on here. It looks like it arcs above the ammonite and creates like another tier, but it was recessive. Okay. more centered chakras that are more apparent. The lobes are extending to the full extent of the stone. This is very common in shaligrams for them to just be like one ammonite in matrix. This doesn't look to connect very well to the other side in terms of threading of matrix between the sides. I'm not sure that there is any. Like it's cut off here. It's probably late in the process cut off, so that's why there's more erosion happening here, because it wasn't transporting material as much as just water when the actual material flow wasn't happening to maintain a conduit. Definitely some peculiar details in general, but okay. Striations, who cares? Who cares? Like this one here is so pronounced. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Even in the darkest spots, living beings are able to hear it clearly. So that all
Okay.
can see,
Common shape.
understanding come to their heart, and they transcend the path of sorrow and death.
Anomalous stuff going on. Equatorial ammonite, pole to pole. Although this stone's more rounded than a lot of them that have that kind of thing going on. This looks kind of pole to pole. I don't know if any other image looks so pole to pole like that too. Teeth going down, eroded there. Some odd thing there. Clearly all the same process in terms of like one ammonite feature being formed and its current flows that are shaping it doing anomalous things.
Is heard clearly. The miracle happens. A beautiful child appears in the heart of a lotus flower. One single drop of this
Just
compassion
cuts
is
in.
enough to bring back the refreshing spring to our mountains and rivers.
So incredible when they're like this. You can see it wrapping around the stone. And then going more pole to pole, looking there, like in the center area. Out around the edge, it's probably just straight up going around the edge. Definitely some lines in here that are weird. For being just an ammonite. See ribs of the ammonite, but then like in there too, kind of in line with that. Like here it makes sense because it's going to the chakra, but over here it's not going to the chakra.
My mind is calm, my body relaxed. A smile is born on my lips. Following the sound of the bell, my breath brings
Definitely
me
wrapping around.
of mindfulness. In the garden of my heart, the
Okay, that
flowers
one's
of
super
peace
cool.
bloom beautifully.
Another pole to pole. Equatorial region. Like, what is going on? There's an ammonite, here's an ammonite, like, fluidly abutting it to then another ammonite. Oh my god. Its shape goes up over here, but then squeezes in exactly against it over here. Perfectly normally. More overlapping features. Wherever that was. Ammonite. Another ammonite. That just like protrude into each other's space. No big deal. Another one that's kind of protruding into its space. That seems quite related to the other one next to it. Connections between ammonites. One down here, one down here. Looks like it was forming an opening here and like a ammonite shape here too. Like just a half like it can sometimes do. Just threading over to this one and down to another like a circuit. Ammonite. Whatever this was ending up to form. And then this one just literally wrapping around it. Who cares? This section here, not like making any sense with this. Like, that's not normal for an ammonite to thread all the way back there like that. These don't look very normal. It bends weird over here. One, two, three, four. These look related, like right there to over here, wrapping around to this one. Chakra, maybe? There's like a chakra down here, chakra up here. Lobe. That was trying to happen. Crazy. Incredible Shaligram. Another one with the protrusion and an ammonite in the protrusion. Common thing for these to do, to like bulge outward in a way where they create a space for another eddy to occupy, and then do so where it did. Oh shoot. Ammonite growing to the boundary, growing over there, going around. Oddities at play. Pretty much no black shell in this one. That general ammonite shape where it's more defined, like forming one here. then, like, what's up here? Is that really part of it? It doesn't look like it. Another, just like a ammonite over here. So I guess there's an ammonite over here, and then an ammonite here where it points out. So over here on the opposite side, ammonite there, and then on the opposite side over here, ammonite that maybe relates to that. I don't know. That doesn't make sense for it, but it's probably some energy interaction between the two. Pretty typical. Not much going on in that one. This one's cool. We see the ammonite, and then this blob. Ammonite blob. Very rounded. Like if this ammonite were to separate, where it's almost just like a standard round Shaligram after that, with a little pole, some striations, almost like, or indentations, like it was forming ribs around this face, but it just didn't. Oh, that frickin' thing almost looks like an inlet, like it was flowing into a stone that was more just like a round Shaligram. Flowed in, and like a belemnite, it flowed through, but then the flow got to the other side and accumulated over there to actually eddy at the opposite side, because it, like this, the way this is very reminiscent of Shaligrams that are just have belemnites in them. I don't know if I can quickly find an example that has that. Like this, but where they'll commonly have like striation features that wrap around in a pole-to-pole manner. Pole-to-pole manner. Not all of them, but enough that I've noticed it. I don't know if I'll find a good example. These all tend to be doing it more sideways. Maybe a little bit in like the dots here. Like it maybe was wrapping around that way. Maybe it went through that portal, down over here, where then it eddied in resistance and grew outward, but pushed against the resistance. So it had this indentation there. Strange. Super cool. Some chakra, low blobe. Like, what's going on here? Totally normal. Just goes across, wraps around, parallel-ish to another one to the right there that kind of stops. And then a couple others, we see some, if we go back over here, parallel to the first. And then seems like it wraps around here, where the one beyond that, parallel to the first, clearly wraps around and seems to go to this one. And then another one, and then at the center is this like vein of quartz going on appearance, where we even see like the suture pattern dendrite shapes kind of like shadowed in there. General margin of some cross section. But cutting in at different points here, that's incredible. Nonsense. Dear modern science, you got some splaining to do, dudes. Look, it even goes across here. Like a quartz vein, too, that's relatively parallel to those. And even bends with the portion here of the first one that, like, bends off of the straight path. Curious. It's like I don't know why I would do this exactly. It's crazy. Looks like there's some kind of pressure point of flow here, maybe around like a equatorial belt that is like running into resistance of this bulge of the actual equator. So it's running below it like a belt atop some butt cheeks. Along the waist. But then running into it here. Maybe feeling a somewhat of an eddy in this direction, like pushing something. So it actually turns the wheel. Somewhat of a like curved indent looking face here is common on shaligrams too. Where it's like cut in by a band. Seems to be like up, down, left, or with a bit of a left to right or right to left. Pretty standard looking, maybe a connection of the matrix from the bottom to the top. It's about the only notable thing that I immediately see. Definitely some curious details in the way the suture patterns are eroded over there. But nothing like super abnormal. Again, pole to pole. But in this case, it formed one ammonite, which is interesting. What did I do with that pen? There it is. It seems to be a common theme in the shaligrams today for them to have. Like some general XY nature. Where like this quadrant is most eroded. This is most matrix. And then this is most like shaped. Both of these, where they generally are shaped to that margin and maybe like pushed inward along this area. Like maybe there's a inflow that's actually happening from like this pole that mostly goes over here and erodes in terms of removing material and then compacting it over here by going along this way, where then it comes around and adds pressure this way to actually push this over. Whereas over here, it's not really pushing it over. It's kind of like where it comes in near the center. Near pushing over here though, to like push beyond. Almost then where a current goes forward, runs into resistance, and goes right, left. Shoot, it just makes me think of a freaking yin yang. Maybe runs into counter resistance then and just freaking straight up. Yin, motherfucking yang. Oh no. Where like the other half is actually related to the bottom face, where this red current is predominantly going along the top face here, so that like it actually runs into a counter current and goes up and divides left and right, while the other current runs into it and goes down and divides left and right. But they're still like broad currents, it's just this is more the focal point. With general pressures holding it all in as it happens. Which then just shapes the stone. Let's see what the other face looks like. Pretty common. I'm just was wondering if it would like bring to light anything. I think that the portion at the bottom we see of the ammonite is the top here. Yeah, it's gotta be just flipped. Top flip to the bottom. Front. So the protruding thing on the left here is the protruding portion on the left here. Also, there's some strange, like, path through here of note. I don't know. And just the shape of the matrix on top of the chakras, pretty weird looking. Like a mud. Just like a bunch of mud kind of appearance. Solidified. Obviously not mud, but just a nice, I don't know, 60 degrees or something. Okay. Another one that seems pressure related with like this area. Cut in half. Subtly eroding ribs. Layered. This one does not look like really part of the other one, that it's like a adjacent eddy that was interacting. Possibly this one over here maybe started first. Or maybe the one on the right was trying to form chakras actually over here and cut more into the stone. I don't know. Or it's arguably part of the same structure. Like this lobe in this center. Super cool. Still super cool. Strange shape on that ammonite. Also, we can see these like dots. Seem to be over here. Like, what the fuck? Maybe even over there. Also, some random dots up here. And again, just the general shape of an ammonite with like a flat face over here. Connected, like obvious as fuck. These are threaded together currents, creating eddies that are cutting into the stone. It doesn't make any damn sense for fossils of seashells. This one just fucking cuts right to it. And then this extends over here, suggestive this one is bigger where it should need more space while it's missing parts. Like, it's also eroding around it. Oh my god. Straight line down at the margin of the opening, like resistance. And weird things going on, like it was trying to extend below this one. Probably because of the pressures above pushing the eddy down, so it was like cutting in down here. Threading together anomalously, not normal features all connected. Chakra. So that's the one we just saw that is over here. So this ammonite that is threaded through like this to this one is also threaded to the other direction to this one. Doing some other weird thing over that way. Definitely see that just connects to the center of the lobe area. Chakra generally, like the outer portion of the chakra, generally in line with the margin of the opening. the top generally in line with the boundary of the other ammonite over here. The outer edge generally in line with the chakra above it. The outer edge on the other side generally in line with the chakra below it. This shit is non-random. And not just like they all die together. Oh, their shells were buried together. That don't explain it, bro. Just threaded together again. Like, look at this one. Where does this go? It goes this way. So it's like clearly this ammonite chakra's here. Lobe out this way that wraps around. But if we just follow the white thing from here, it wraps around, goes to about here, and then we have two options. It can go that way or it can go this way and wrap around this one, which then connects to the edge of that one, or back to this one. And then the edge of this one connects to this, that threads to this one, and then threads down to this one. I mean, it's throughout. It's not just here. The whole fucking stone is doing this shit. It's coded in current interactions. Looks like a footprint. Turns. Walks forward. What gets here? Looks this way. Walks over here. Oh, turns. Footprint. Walks around. Multi-boundary, like nonsense. Fucking nonsense unless it's currents. Chakra there, that seems to be like the wrong direction. I don't know if that's just how it looks. Like it was forming an eddy here, but then it was extending to form an eddy in a different plane. It's going in and out instead of around. More on the surface, into the surface. It's eddying like this until it makes room to eddy like this. Another one with chakras there, but forming chakras here as a potential, as well as over here. And also no black shale visible really. Like, what the fuck, dudes? With this curious feature, striations over here in this portion that's like layered, like chipping away layers kind of appearance, and underneath the chipped away layers are these super parallel lines looking thing going on. And then over here we see like roundedness. Another ammonite in there. Okay. Another pole to pole, maybe. Polar ammonites. Here's pole, ammonite. Ammonite, like literally. Polar ammonites. Both opening in the same direction, it seems, although possibly back to back in essence. Seems to be that one twice. Yep. Same one, same one. Different one? This friggin' sharp margin there. The chakra. Oh my god, this one's so flat. And then this one's so tall. What? What the fuck? Super abnormal shaped chakras on the one. This one's looks more normal. I think that's not the same one. Extra erosions beyond it. Generally at the equatorial region between the poles. No video. No video to kill the radio star. In my mind. In my mind. Eyeball, nose, mouth. Ah. So maybe even like hands to the mouth. Hey man. Shouting. Cheeks just like wobbling in the shout. I can't do it, but another one with some cool erosion paths. Pfft, super cool. Not really anything. Maybe a bivalve argued to be. Like what? We could literally see it extending over here, wrapping around. Oh my god. Super cool. Ripple teeth type things over and over, but scattered. This one generally in line with this, like there's an eddy that interacted either in more inlet or outlet with that. Spreading. Some kind of person. Eyeballs. Oh yeah, ammonite, ammonite. Two ammonites. And this one is clearly related to that path bag. So cool. Okay. Last one in these tabs. Last one in the tabs. Let's see. How many images? 12. Pole to pole thing going on. Ammonite at one pole. Some twisting. Where instead of being more symmetrical like this, it's almost got like a torque. I'm guessing more like this. Different inlets though. Like interacting pressures from some other, not quite there. Or maybe in this case it is calls to eddy here. Interesting, this is near where it like goes pretty straight. Like some kind of margin, and then maybe this one. It's definitely looks like this side is straight to maybe like here, somewhere in that range. Which kind of covers this margin, even maybe this margin. Maybe even up to like the chakra and only to where this other side is more straight. Interacting eddies. This one's like pointing at it basically. Corner eddy, corner eddy. Not sure the other corner down here has anything. Where's the freaking other corner's face? It's gotta be there. So that's the ammonite on the one corner on the left. And then the other corner is just like featureless relatively. Seems atypical to have no like epicenter of current forming something like an ammonite there, but maybe it's because it did it at the bend instead, with the other two and even a third one kind of happening. Okay. We made it through. I'm gonna play a song and dip out. I got through all the tabs. Lots of videos that I didn't get through, but I made it through the tabs. Peace, dudes.
Yeah, I know what it's like when nobody's listening, trying to get wild in my head. But something is missing, just give me more of my pills, cause the pain keeps increasing. Where do we go from here? Somehow I know that we'll be screaming out loud in the cold nights, making up stuff that I used to laugh, missing out drunk in a bar fight, waking up saying we've had enough, staying up late every damn night, getting so high you see the light, living like we gonna die stay right here because I know